Hi everyone, Omid here, and I'm starting something new which I'm calling the State of Purchasing and Supply Chain Management. I'm doing this in the first quarter of every year, and today we're going to focus on 2015 and what I think are the top areas that we need to be looking at and getting better at in our profession to maximize our results, our capabilities, and your career and your income. Now, I had a long list of things I really wanted to go through, but we don't have time to go through those. I've condensed it down to 5 key actions. I'm challenging you to do those things differently this year. Now, here's what I'll say. The state of purchasing and supply chain management is strong. We've come a long way. We've gotten better as a profession, but there's a lot of things that haven't changed at all. And so I want you to make that inflection point and start getting better in these areas. These messages are built on going to everybody in your organization, but specifically, I also want the chief purchasing officers of your organization to be on top of these messages. And if you're one of those people, let's drive that leadership agenda. So the first thing is we need to not use financial crisis as the reason why we can't invest in tools and systems and processes and things like this to make purchasing and procurement and supply chain management a better function in our organizations. True purchasing leadership means that you are using the financial crisis as the reason why these things need to be invested in. You need to be able to sell the value proposition that purchasing will get us out of these problems. If our company is having problems, if our agency, we need to not cut purchasing short because of financial issues. We need to go to them and invest in their organizations because they're the ones who are going to get us out of this financial crisis. And I have many, many success stories of companies who have done just that. It takes forward thought and leadership to be able to recognize that purchasing is the answer during periods of financial crisis. That's where you have to invest. The next one is we have to get out of the mold of responding to what end users give us and getting the lowest total cost on the specifications and scope of work that they provide. The next generation of purchasing professionals has to be able to get upstream design influence. We have to get upstream with end users, get upstream with engineering, get upstream with research and development, and to focus on understanding what their objectives are and how to better achieve their objectives at a lower total cost before you ever get to specifications and scope of work finalization. If you're getting handed those documents, you're too late in the process, and whatever value that you're able to add is still too late, no matter how good of a job that you do. And so purchasing organizations need to drive standardization. They need to drive reuse of technology and suppliers. They need to drive simplification, and they need to research and know best practices in industry to solve problems better. And there are more opportunities to save money and lower total costs before negotiations and before the specs and scope of works are defined than there are after once you get into negotiations. It's an incredible paradigm shift that I'd like the entire purchasing function to make that transition. The next one is we keep having struggles with getting purchasing recognized inside of our companies, inside of our agencies. We're letting ourselves become a backroom function. The way to get out of that is we have to stop speaking our language. We keep talking to each other about cost savings and things like this. Executives don't care about cost savings because they don't understand cost savings. They say, if you're saving me this much money, how come I don't have that much left in my budget? So that discussion has got to stop, and you need to focus on a different vantage point for your discussions. Chief purchasing officers, I'm talking to you. We need to start talking not about how much money we've saved the company, but how much profit we've added to the bottom line of the company. That is the language that CEOs understand and CFOs understand. Start talking about that. Make yourself relevant and make yourself a part of the profitability equation for your company if you want to get recognized as a value-added center of strategic advantage and profit for your company. this is a shift you have to do. Stop speaking your language, start speaking their language, and get a seat at the table with executive staff using the criteria they value most. And right now, profit is king. The next one is we need to get out of the business of buying goods and services. And if you put a gun to my head and said, what's the biggest problem in purchasing today? I'm going to tell you the problem is that we're buying goods and services. Now, you might think, well, isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? No. We need in this profession to be buying performance results. That's the next shift in generational activity and results in the purchasing profession that I'm challenging you to get to. The difference between buying goods and services and buying performance results is dramatic. I want you to make that shift to start putting contracts in place, not for delivery and not for receipt of goods and services, but rather, what are the performance results that you expect out of these? How is it going to make your business different? What is the goal that your end user wants to achieve, and how is that going to enable your company or agency? Translating that into negotiation criteria and contract criteria that you nail down with your suppliers so that you are never left up the creek with the contract and with the supplier where they're doing exactly what the contract says, yet you're unhappy. That happens when you're buying goods and services. It never happens when you're buying performance results. So get out of the mind frame of buying goods and services. That's yesterday's newspaper. Starting now, you are buying performance results, and you need to re-architect your process for the procurement of performance results. And my final message is, this is number 5, is invest in your people. We are negotiating with sales organizations. Now, sales are the revenue makers inside of companies. They have fat budgets. They have great systems, better systems than you. They have great processes. They have research being done for them. They have more time in their schedule. My research shows that sales professionals are spending up to 40% of their time in training. My research also shows that purchasing professionals are only spending up to 2% of their time in training. Now, does that sound like a level playing field to you? It's not. And if you think you can compete against resources like that, you can't, because they know more than you do. They know more about their costs, about their structure, about their manufacturing, about their industry. So you have that working against you too. So what's the message? Invest in your people, invest in training, make yourself better, because suppliers know when you're not prepared and when your company hasn't done their homework, and it never ends well. Those are my key messages for you, for chief purchasing officers, and for our profession. Now go out there and help make this a better place for our profession, purchasing and supply chain management all over the world. Go off and do something wonderful and be your best.